Hi, I'm Rachel, and this is BookTube Spin number 7, the second of the two TBR games I play, and the one that's, I guess, more officially a TBR game or more part of the community because I didn't actually start this one. This was brought to BookTube by Rick McDonnell. He based it off of something I think that was going around the book blogging verse, where you create a list of 20 books at random, although I think they were supposed to be classic literature that you felt guilty about not reading yet. So you make a list, and then somebody, or I guess the game master, spins the spinning wheel, and you read the book that the game master lands on. And so I've been doing this since the second of Rick's BookTube spins. He darted in and made a quick little video before he was about to take a little bit of a BookTube vacation, but very graciously he didn't leave us hanging with our summer read. So I actually did go ahead and watch his whole video, which I'll link down below for BookTube spin number 7, without first sharing my list, but actually I had my list in mind beforehand, in part because I don't usually change a lot on my list from spin to spin, including the 2 books that he spun this time. So I'm not cheating. It's still spontaneous and kind of sort of out of my control, except for the fact that, I put all the books on there. For me, I have 4 categories with 5 books each. And of Rick's 2 spins, I read 1 book for the quarter because I'm already full up as it is with other books on my TBR. So anyway, what I'm going to do right now is quickly go through all 20 books and then talk about the 2 spins and why I decided to go the way I went with the book I chose. So we're starting with category number 1, which is my Jewish fiction category, and I actually did change out all the books in this category from my previous lists. So anyway, number 1 is The Last Cruise by Kate Christensen, a former journalist turned farmer, a Hungarian sous chef, a Tel Avivian violinist, and others on the final voyage of a 1950s vintage ocean liner. Number 2 is Inappropriation by Lexi Freeman. A Jewish misfit in an Australian girls' school is ostracized when her sexual self-discovery collides with PC culture. Number 3 is A Good Day for Seppuku by Kate Braverman. These are short stories about girls on the brink of adulthood, women on the verge of breakdowns, family drama, and Jewish identity. Number 4 is We Regret to Inform You by Ariel Kaplan. This is YA about a Russian-American Jewish girl. She's an overachiever who's rejected from all the colleges she applied to, and there's an admissions scandal in the wings. And finally, number 5 is Queen Solomon by Tamara Faith Berger, a coming-of-age story about a disturbed Canadian teenage narrator over the summer when his family hosts an Ethiopian Jewish girl from Israel. Next, we go into general fiction, which hasn't changed at all, starting with number 6, Black Sunday by Tola Rotimi Abraham. 4 siblings, 2 decades in Nigeria. Number 7 is The Bass Rock by Evie Wilde. 3 women in 3 different time periods, the same sexism ruling their lives. Number 8 is White Elephant by Julie Langsdorff, suburban satire taking place near Washington, D.C., in my neck of the woods. Number 9 is The Sound of One Hand Clapping by Richard Flanagan. This is family drama in mid-20th century Tanzania. And finally, number 10 is The Caregiver by Samuel Park, a mother-daughter story of care, rebellion big and small, and immigration in 1980s Rio de Janeiro and California. Category 3 is science fiction, which also hasn't changed, starting with number 11, Provenance by Anne Leckie. A fugitive looks to reclaim stolen treasure in space and finds herself embroiled in an alien plot, literally. Number 12 is Ancestral Night by Elizabeth Bear. A routine salvage mission in space goes awry when an ancient technology is uncovered. Number 13 is Pushing Ice by Alistair Reynolds. A rockhopper crew is tasked with tailing one of Saturn's moons as it breaks orbit and leaves the solar system. Number 14 is Dark Orbit by Carolyn Ives Gilman. Alien contact on a distant planet Seems like more of a murder mystery plot than my usual, but we'll go with it. And finally, Martians Abroad by Carrie Vaughn is number 15. This is YA about a young Martian girl who dreams of spacefaring but ends up getting sent to Earth instead. Womp womp. And my final category is fantasy, where I switched out 2 of the titles, even though technically I only had to switch out the one that I read for my last BookTube spin. But anyway, number 16 is The 100,000 Kingdoms by N.K. Jemisin. An estranged daughter is named heir to the king and thrust into a power struggle. Number 17 is The Ruin of Kings by Jen Lyons. A man discovers his fate is tied up with that of an empire, and he may not be here to save the world, but destroy it. Number 18 is The Vanished Queen by Lisbeth Campbell. A woman vows to take down a despotic king and, surprise, surprise, finds herself embroiled in court politics. I have a theme. Number 19 is A Queen in Hiding by Sarah Kozloff. An orphaned princess becomes a guerrilla fighter and must assemble a group of rebels to take back a kingdom. And finally, number 20 is The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. A young peasant girl discovers she has an unearthly power, but the war she fights for her god might cost her her humanity. At least those are my takes on those 20 books. Not having read them yet, we'll see how accurate they are if and when I get to reading them. So anyway, Rick spun 2 numbers as always for his spin. He spun number 16, which was The 100,000 Kingdoms for me by N.K. Jemisin, the start of a new fantasy series by her, which would be really exciting to read, but in my last spin, I had read fantasy, so a rule I instigated for myself, if I'm only going to read 1 book, I have to choose a category I've read in the game least recently. So the other book that Rick spun was number 9, which for me was in general fiction, which I read less recently, and the book in question is this one, The Sound of One Hand Clapping by Richard Flanagan. It is a book I, in fact, own, which is actually unusual for this list of 20. My mother gifted this book to me, I think, a few winters ago. It was during a time period where I was, asking for her for a lot of books that were on my TBR, but she wanted to, shake me up a bit and buy me something that, I hadn't heard of before. So she also hadn't heard of this book before. It is, in fact, I believe an Australian publisher who published this book. And as I mentioned, it's a family drama taking place in Tanzania. It's a little historical fiction. And in fact, this book was on my other TBR game several months or even years ago by now, the page 112 tag, as evidenced by this little slip of paper inside. I did in fact read page 112 for that game, and I wasn't actually too impressed with that page, so that makes reading this book for this challenge a little bit iffy as well. Like, am I really gonna like it? I already gave it a little bit of a chance, but I have difficulty taking things off of my TBR, especially when I have, physical copies of them. So I'm gonna go ahead and give it a go. And there's plenty other pages in this book. Maybe it will ultimately come together for me. We shall see in coming months. Frankly, I probably won't get to this book until September, but I do plan to read it before BookTube Spin number 8 hopefully comes along. So that about covers it for me now. I will leave the Goodreads links for all 20 of these books listed down below if you would want to know more information about them. And also a link to my TBR playlist in case you want to go back and make sure I'm telling the truth about my past lists. I'm sure that's of huge interest to people. But really, I do enjoy playing these games, and I know that there's a bit of a cottage industry of them really here on BookTube. They are so much fun. And I could use a little fun right now. I am having a really, it's been a challenging week, maybe even a challenging 2022. I think I've been whining about it in some of my other recent and not so recent videos. Some of my most recent news is that my air conditioning repair is going to be a much bigger deal than I hoped. I have to replace everything, which is a pretty penny. So that was a bit of a disappointment when I had the HVAC company come and, assess my system today. I still don't have AC. I don't know if you can hear the fans going in the background, but actually they will be installing the new unit on my birthday, so I guess it'll be a nice gift for myself, a very expensive gift, but a nice one that should hopefully, last, 15 years or maybe more, hopefully, If I were to complain a little more about this week, I got work stress going on too, yada yada. What do you know? Not every week can be a winter week, I suppose, but I do have my birthday coming up at the end of the week, so hopefully at least there's, a silver lining at the end of it. And I have a couple more videos I'm hoping to make in the near future, starting with my monthly Author's Answer video coming up in the next couple of days. It's another sort of tag video started by author-tuber J.D. Archer, where he and his writing group asked themselves a bunch of reading and writing related questions, and I have been following their script and answering them month to month, so stay tuned for that. In the meantime, I hope the rest of you are enjoying your summer reads, be they from TBR games or otherwise. Thanks so much for watching, everyone, and I'll see you next time.